Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Lune. And I hope you're doing well. If you're not, I hope you're doing well soon. And hello. Hello, hello, hello. So I was in the mood to do a video today, and earlier I kind of filmed one. Sometimes I film videos and then I look back and I'm like, I didn't really like that. So I refilm them later on or at a different time when the energy feels more aligned with something I want to actually put out there. So I I've been learning a lot right now about essentially setting boundaries with people and recognizing when something isn't healthy for me and being able to separate myself from that. Right? Because I know with my own upbringing, I was really used to kind of I had modeling in front of me like that. You know, you're supposed to give and give and give and give, and it's basically on me to kind of I guess carry a friendship, a relationship, a connection with really anybody. And it brought me to a really toxic place where I ended up aligning myself with people that, you know, just wanted to take, and weren't really invested in, I guess, looking at themselves and really improving themselves. And me being all empathetic and oh, I want to give love to you and I want you to, you know, have a better life and whatever. I would see these people and be like, it's kind of like that I want to fix them mentality, right? And the reason why people say it's so unhealthy is because it really is. You cannot fix or help anyone change their, you can help them by being there for them maybe, but there comes a point where you have to realize that, you know, someone's just taking from you and that they need to learn things on their own. And that's what I'm learning, right? When to let go of people when it gets to a point that it's unhealthy for me, and for them. Because there's times where you're just accepting this bare minimum, if at all, behavior from someone, and you're just looking at their potential, oh, if only this, if only I do this, then I can help them get to that point. If I give them this, maybe they'll change, right? But the reality is maybe someone will change, but you don't know that, right? And if it's really putting a toll on you, and it's draining and it's uncomfortable and you're anxious and you're depressed because you're like, when is this going to materialize in the way that I want it? Then that's when you know that you need to let it go, right? Because if you are someone who wants a relationship that is reciprocal, is healthy, then putting yourself and keeping yourself in situations that are not that keeps you from having that. And you know, logically, I've always known this, but from childhood programming and also societal programming about how women are just supposed to cater to men. And this is not an attack on men at all or women or anything. This is literally my experience as a woman being programmed as a child. It's like the Disney movies, like the princess movies, how um the women are saved by the men. Not all of them, but in some of them, it really is this perspective that women want love and they're waiting for their Prince Charming and they want that fairy tale love. And having fairy tale love is it's valid, but it's also important to remember the reality and also realize that that's a distorted view of love, that you need someone to save you, and that you need another person to essentially be happy and to live your life. And it's programmed, right? And so I had that programming, and I also had unhealthy childhood modeling in front of me, of unhealthy relationships. So it became programmed in me for me to think that that behavior was okay, or think that I just needed to put more into it. and I would get something, or like I had to continue to chase love um to get it, and like I was always obsessed with like wanting love. And now I'm realizing that the reason is because of this programming. It's not even that I like, of course I want love, right? I want romantic love, I want friendships that are genuine, but I'm realizing that I don't want them if they're unhealthy, you know? I would rather be alone. And like, but the problem is that my programming tells me that no, I'd rather be in an unhealthy situation so I'm not alone. That's what the programming tells me, right? But it's not the truth, because I know. And that's why it's so difficult, because when you are programmed into these patterns, it's really hard to break them when it's all you've known. But if you're experiencing this, I'm just letting you know it is definitely possible to get out of it, even though it's hard. Because I am coming to that point now where I am like really becoming aware of like what I will and will not tolerate from people, and trying to stay true to that despite my programming that's like no. And also I think it's also just having a lot of empathy, being someone who has a lot of empathy and is like a little more energetically aware of other people. I can see people's potential, and that's a good and a bad thing. Helps you be compassionate and like understanding of other people and other souls, but it can also be unhealthy if you are just viewing them from the potential rather than how they're actually acting and being. So that's something I'm learning too. Like, yes, they're beautiful, amazing soul, but just because they're beautiful, because I really do think everyone's beautiful. I do. And that sometimes is my problem. I'm like, yes, I love everyone. But and I can love everyone, but you can't love everyone in a way where you're letting them kind of like use your energy or infringe upon your energy and like giving you nothing when you're giving them everything. Like that's when it becomes unhealthy and detrimental to you. So, so. That is something I'm learning, and it's really crazy, really strange, but it's also really freeing to know that it's like really a result of programming. And I remember when I started learning about like unconditional love, I was like, there is no way I can unconditionally love like that. Like, how can I how can I like be happy and not need a person? Like, what? Like my brain was just like not, it was not adding up. I was like, but that's not true. And it's because I was programmed to think that that's the way love is. I was programmed to think that. And it's really not my fault. And it's not your fault if you also think that way and you still have difficulties with it. It's not your fault, right? But I'm letting you know that like you can get out of that if you want like healthy good love, and that's what I'm in the process of doing. I'm in the process of shedding all these old ways of patterns of thinking so that I can prepare myself to actually have the connections that I want when I'm ready. And that's another thing. If you know that you're not ready to have new connections and to be with someone in a romantic friendship way, whatever, if you know you're not ready, then don't do it. I mean, some ways, like I've had situations where like I know that it's not good and I get into it, but it does teach me something. But like still, like once you realize it and you're at a certain point, you got to be like, okay, maybe I need to like take a step back and like just be on my own for a while, even if it's uncomfortable, because at the end of that discomfort, you become more comfortable with you and your choices and your needs and your wants. And then that's also how you find people who align with that, so that you're not getting all this breadcrumbing and like unhealthy, weird dynamics where people are like, seeking your validation or you're seeking theirs, or they're like afraid to get close to you and like but you're open to getting close to them, like all these weird imbalances. Like when you get to the core of what you really want, like as a genuine version of you, you don't need any of those toxic connections. In fact, you will feel like I'm not lying. I had a connection where I was like, "Oh my gosh, like I love this. I'm so into it. Like I really want to be with this person." And then Like I realize like the behavior, and of course I still love them, but it's like there's a point where loving someone and wanting to be close to them um is valid, but when it's, and this is kind of like the hard part that I had to realize, because I think sometimes it's hard for us as humans to like view ourselves as like to have like true self-love sometimes, because we don't really think about ourselves as a person because we're in our bodies, I guess, and so we're viewing other people and it's more like humanized in front of us like another person, so when we're talking to them it's like easier than talking to ourselves. But I just realized like I'm talking to this person, I really love them, but they're not in a place where they can love me in the way that I need to be loved. And they're not even, in fact, because of that, the reason that that is happening is because they cannot even fully love themselves yet. They have not gone to that point, and so I cannot force them to be at that point, and I also cannot subject myself to that situation where they're unable to love me, because then I will get nothing from that, right? Like it's unhealthy for both of us, because then I would be the one not only like allowing them to do that, but like it hurts me, you know? And it doesn't help them, and it doesn't help me to stay in that situation, because then I am disappointing myself and I am enabling them in that situation. And like I know a lot of people don't like to take accountability for like certain things that they do, and I understand why. Like it's kind of scary to like take accountability for your part in situations, especially when you're the one who hasn't really done necessarily anything wrong. But it's important to take accountability and to recognize like what you're doing, like how you're enabling people to treat you badly. It doesn't mean that like it's your fault they're treating you badly, but if you're continuing to put yourself in those situations, it is technically a little bit your fault. Um, and that isn't to shame anyone, because these are real things. Like the things that I do are from programming that I'm still working through. And there will be times where I'm like I'm feeling like I'm like going back into this programming for a minute, and then I need to take a step back and like really see that it's the programming and then it's not actually what I want or need. So recognizing programming when it comes to like connections and stuff is so important. Like, oh my goodness. Um, but yeah, I guess that was like my little rant tangent today. I don't know what I was doing with this video. I actually don't remember what I was talking about in the first half of this, because like sometimes when I talk, like my brain just like wee, I forget the first part of what I was saying. But anyway, I hope this was helpful. I might just make videos like talking about like what I'm going through or like what I'm experiencing, because yeah, right now like the lesson for me is you gotta love yourself and love other people by stepping back sometimes, by letting go. What is it, like that saying, like if you love someone, let them go? And that applies in like a situation where it's not healthy for either of you. So by letting them go, you're loving yourself and you're loving them. Crazy, isn't it? Crazy. Because the conditionings and like the some of the egoic parts of ourselves, and the egoic parts of ourselves are so valid, but those parts of ourselves like love to cling to things because we're afraid, usually from like childhood programming or just societal programming, that like you'll be alone or you'll never recover if you don't have that person, which is not true. It's just programmed. um like that's just not true. Okay, it's not true. um and real love, and I think I already said this in my video that was called To Love, where I talked about what unconditional love is. To love someone does not mean to hold tight to them like they're like a possession, because everyone is a person, a human being, a soul. And my friend Ari Star, I think I mentioned her in my community post, but she loves to say that every person is a universe. And I love that so much, because we are not like just a thing or specific like identity. And I think a lot of times humans like to categorize people in certain things, which is just not accurate because people are always changing and evolving. And so, even in love, like, we evolve and we change, and sometimes we may match with a person for a time and then have to let them go because we don't match anymore. And I'm trying to realize that, like, whether I have someone or not is like not, it's not like my ability to be happy and to live is not contingent on someone else being there forever. And I also saw in a video like a comment that was saying, like, the whole thing of it is like, you cannot promise someone that you will be with them forever, and you cannot promise like forever. I mean, you can from like a soul standpoint. We're all like connected, so therefore we will always be together. We are one. But it's like you cannot promise someone that you will be in their life for absolutely ever. I feel like the most healthy way of looking at it is saying, I will be in your life for as long as we align and for as long as we are able to be together in a healthy way. That's what I feel may be the better way of putting it. Because sometimes you're like aligned with someone for like a long time, and then like you both change in different directions, and that's okay. That's like the evolution and the growth of being a human being. And that doesn't just apply to romantic relationships. It applies to like familial relationships, to friendships, to like partnerships and career, like people you used to know, maybe you're just on a different path and you're not aligning with them then. And maybe you'll come back to them later and be like, "Hey, what's up?" and you'll be aligned again, or you won't be. But that's like the beauty of life, is we're constantly changing and meeting new people and being in different ways. And I'm trying to kind of get out of the conditioning that I need to be one thing forever, that I need one connection forever, that it has to be forever or I'm doomed. Not true. With the infinite beings that we are, we do not need things, like as human beings, like we want things to be a certain way, and we don't want change because that's just part of how our brain works sometimes, and it's no fault of our own. But it's recognizing that like as infinite beings, things will always change, and that change is actually so beautiful. I was on a walk the other day, and I was just looking around, and I was like, all these plants like have these, they have like a cycle. All these plants have cycles, all these bugs have cycles that they live through and they die through. And so do we as human beings, like all the animals. We have a cycle. We are born, we go through all these developmental stages, and then we die, right? Like, we have cycles. And so, even the entire earth, everything going on has a cycle, it has a trajectory. It starts, it's born, and it goes and it ends, and it starts again and it ends again and it starts again. It's just a continual process of changing and evolving and growing and reshaping into new forms. And so you don't need to hold on so tight to things because they won't be there forever. And that sounds sad, but it isn't, because we are forever as souls, right? We don't just disappear when we die and we never. This is my perspective. If you have a different one, that's okay, that's fine. But from my perspective, we never truly die. And we're always existing somewhere, in some way, in some form. Um, and in different energies, and I think that's beautiful. And so, honestly, I would never want to be one way forever. Wouldn't that be like really boring if we were all just like one robotic way like for our entire lives? I feel it would be, right? um so yeah. Oh, also want to show you guys my little cup. Donald Duck. So it's funny because I was looking at this and I was like, oh, I should tell them because I thought it was a cute story. But my mom had this coworker, and I think his first name was like Donald or something. And when they were, they, I guess she was leaving the company or something. They weren't gonna work together again. And like before he left, he gave her this Donald Duck cup to remember him by, and I thought it was so cute. So every time I use it, I think about that story and I'm like, oh, it's Donald, that random guy my mom knew from work. But yeah, yeah, so that was my little video. Oh my gosh, this video was long. I should just like sit and talk sometimes for videos without like a. I usually do, but sometimes I have things in mind. This time I really didn't. So, hey. Um I don't know, I hope this video was helpful. I hope you're well, and if you're not, I hope you're well soon because human experience is so crazy and hard sometimes, but then it's also easy and it's weird and I don't know, like I think sometimes we just have to like be ourselves and like be honest about the fact that like we're all just trying to figure it out and like nobody really knows the answer. You know? Like we don't really know like everything and we never will know everything. So why don't we just like be comfortable with not knowing everything and just enjoy what we do know and what we have? You know? Like just have fun with it. Let it vibe. Let it go. Let it be free. Anyway, I don't know. Okay. I gotta go though. I have to do coursework for school. I took a break to make a video because I wanted to, and I was like staring at the screen like, so many resources I have to find. And I'm going to a concert this weekend for 21 Pilots. So excited. Um, and it's like I'm gonna be there for like a few days, and then I'm gonna see like a baseball game. I'm not really into sports, but my family is, so like we'll be doing that and they'll be enjoying that. I do like sports in person sometimes, but I haven't really learned the rules of baseball fully. Like I know a little bit because like I've watched some games, I've been to some games, but the rest of my family just like knows everything that's going on and I'm like, "Oh, clap clap" when they when everybody starts clapping because I don't know what's going on. But the energy at games though, even if you don't understand the game or you like don't really care to, is still beautiful. Cuz it's like all these people come together and they just get so happy and excited and they're there for the same thing and it's like a nice little kindred spirit type of thing between everyone and it's just also when I'm in crowds and everyone's happy, I just feel like this overwhelming sense of happiness because I can feel like their joy in that moment. And that's why I'm also excited to go to the concert because concerts are so cool and everybody's going to be feeling the music and then feeling each other and then we're all going to experience it together and it's like this beautiful lighting of souls all around me and yeah, so that's exciting. But that's why I'm trying to do my coursework early in the week because otherwise I'm going to have to rush it at the end of the week and I don't want to do that. That's not good to do that to myself. So okay, this was a very laid back video. More like a hangout, it seems. So, yeah. Um, I was gonna end the video and I'm still talking. But yeah, I hope you guys are good. If you're not, like, I hope you're well. If you're not, I hope you're well soon. I truly do. Because yesterday I was like, I was going through it. I was like very emotional. And I was crying and I was just trying to purge stuff. And I was literally having thoughts like, what is the point of life? Like, I don't want to be here, you know? Like, just the typical, like, depressive anxiety thoughts and emotions that happen to everybody sometimes. And I was like, I just want to get out of this feeling. I don't want to feel it. But then I was like, but I gotta feel it because if I don't feel it, it'll build up and then I'll feel it even more than I had to because I didn't address it, you know? So I went through that and now today I'm feeling a lot better. It doesn't mean I'm great, perfect, but I'm better than I was yesterday, and that's a gift. Yeah. Okay, I gotta go. I gotta do this coursework. So fun. Hope you guys are doing well. If you're not, hope you're well soon. I know I said that 3 times or 4 times, but that's okay because I really need it and that's why I said it. Yeah. Okay. Bye, guys.